Welcome to the Powerful Komiksman podcast. This is Komiksman Jerald Dorado, and this is the 40 Life Wisdoms at 40 series. This series is created, um, well, hindi naman to celebrate my 40th birthday, incoming birthday on April. Pero I just thought this is a good content to create for the occasion. Okay, so I'm sharing 40 lessons, life lessons that I have learned in my 40 years of living here on planet Earth. And okay, we are now at number 3. And so that means there's a couple more. There's number 1 and number 2 entries in the previous episodes. So check that out, and also expect 37 more. Kasi number 3 pa lang ngayon eh. So this is gonna be 40 entries. Obviously, okay, I think that's easy enough for you to get without me telling. But for now, before we start, let me just tell you about Miucha Lux Cakes. Okay, so this podcast is brought to you by Miucha Lux Cakes. That is our little pastry shop, online pastry shop actually. So check out at hello.miucha on Instagram and Facebook. That's at HELLO.MIUCCIA. And yeah, you're gonna see cakes, even wedding cakes, and cookies, donuts, and all of them are vegan. But alam mo yun, don't worry about the word vegan kasi mas masarap pa siya sa hindi vegan. Okay, so if you think vegan food is bland and hindi masarap, you are mistaken, my friend. Check out at hello.miucha on Instagram. That is the perfect. Kasi puro mga lalaki halos ang nakikinig dito eh. And some women also. Yon ang the best na pangregalo sa mga nililigawan nyo, sa mga asawa nyo. Promise, it is the item to give to impress. Anyway, check out nyo na lang. Okay, so let's go back to our 40 life wisdoms at 40. We are again at number 3, and number 3 is become an expert in something. Okay, so become an expert even at least in one thing. Okay, so that doesn't mean na isa lang. You can also have several. Pero if you are siguro mga just maybe a few, kasi if it's already let's say pag sobrang dami na hindi ka na expert doon, di ba? You could be an expert din, pero I think there's konti lang yung mga tao na ganoon talaga. But if you can manage to do that, then good for you. But at least shoot for one. If you're not an expert in anything yet, or if you don't feel na kaya mo, I'm telling you now, kaya mo yan. Kaya mong maging eksperto on one thing. First, let us define what an expert is. Okay, so oops, it's my dog. Okay, so first let's define what an expert is. So an expert, I would say, is somebody who has gained or who has earned, mas tama yung earned, authority into something. And that something could be anything from any kind of work, basically. So if you are a teacher, or if you're an academic, so you could be You could be an expert in math, science, or sometimes sports, di ba? You could be an athlete, expert athlete. Kasi not all athletes are could be considered an expert, di ba? And also in art, if you're an illustrator, if you're a dancer, if you are a painter, singer, guitarist, if you're a worker, hard laborer, di ba? If you're a plumber, expert plumber ka, pwede yan. Or engineer, lahat. So, I'm sure you know what I mean. So, if you have, but then again, expert is kind of a super, it's a superlative word. Okay? So, yung salitang expert, mataas yan eh. Parang expert, wow, expert. 'Di ba? Pwedeng ganun yung maging reaction mo eh. Parang it's sometimes hard to uh, to get yourself into admitting that you could be an expert, or maybe you are already an expert and you still in denial or not aware. 'Di ba? Kasi so I suppose parang kakonekta nitong become trying to become an expert is also if recognize your accomplishments, recognize that you have already reached a lot of things in your line of work. So if you are an artist, let's say like me, I've been doing I've been doing art for a living for almost 20 years now, or 20 years na pala, 20 years na, then I would consider myself an expert in doing that. 'Di ba? I'm not, kasi parang one isang false connotation is that when you say you're an expert, you are the best, 'di ba? Hindi naman ganoon 'yun eh. So you can be there are lots of experts, let's say in finance, 'di ba? Madaming mga finance gurus ka diyan. I would I would trust that when they say they're experts, 'di ba? I'm sure may mga posers na hindi naman talaga expert pero claiming to be. Pero let's don't mind them. Let's just focus on the real experts. So there are plenty of people who could be experts in a single craft, and it doesn't mean that they have to compete to see who's the best, unless you are like the the man that I have on screen. If you're watching this content on YouTube, I have Khabib Nurmagomedov, the welterweight champion. Actually complicated kasi he said he had relinquished the belt. He said he's gonna retire, but officially he's still listed as the champion sa UFC welterweight division. And actually this is he is a perfect example of an expert, kasi not only he is an expert in MMA, which is the sport MMA, he is also a specialist. Some people, or even some fans, even go as far as saying na ano siya, one trick pony, na parang isa lang ang alam niyang gawin, which is wrestling. Yun ang strong suit niya, na walang makapigil kahit alam nilang gagawin ni Khabib na i-wrestle sila. Kumbaga hindi sila makagalaw pag na na take down na sila ni Khabib. Even the best wrestlers in the UFC, hirap na hirap talaga silang lumaban. And Khabib wins using that, yung technique ng wrestling, using his skills, his unparalleled skills in wrestling in his division. And Yun. So that's he is actually an expert in wrestling, which led him to become an expert in MMA. And alam mo yun, kumbaga, hindi lang dun sa isang aspeto yung wrestling, yung na mas malawak pa yung naabot ng pagiging expert niya as a wrestler. So it's he reaches the pinnacle of combat sports achievement, and he's a great example of becoming an expert kasi he used the, when you become an expert, you also, that also means kasi you don't become an expert without working hard for it. Okay? You can't you can't attend an online workshop and and call yourself an expert. Let's say an online workshop for podcasting, 'di ba? And then after that, expert ka na. Hindi ganun 'yun. You're gonna have to do the actual work, and even if you do the actual work, you would have to spend time, you would have to learn the skills kasi there are plenty of uh, of instances na pwedeng mangyari, and there's also an endless possibilities ng pwede mong i-respond on numerous types of, alam mo yun, events that may happen. So expertise would allow you to minimize those things that could happen, those bad things that could happen, and also gives you skills to avert, and also parang ma-handle mo yung mga ganong pangyayari in a calm manner, 'di ba? So it's that's what an expert is. Being an expert means you have paid your dues, kumbaga, and this is hard work, and that is and kumbaga, if like my example earlier, yung for myself, actually I just realized that I was an expert already in what I do siguro mga 2010, 'di ba? Parang okay. Parang I've been doing this for 10 years already. They say na parang uh, if you start on any skill, give yourself 7 years, magiging expert ka dun. So if you're doing something for 7 years, non-stop, or you, at least you have parang siguro mga 10,000 hours. That's another form of saying that. So if you already spent 10,000 hours practicing on any given craft, then you probably become an expert. It's inevitable. Okay? Kasi it's inevitable if you keep on doing something, it's inevitable to find to find faults in what you do, and also give your brain time to develop ways to improve yourself. Okay, so may mga tao na, alam mo yan, especially in the art world, may mga nagiging stagnant in the skills. Well, sometimes ako, feeling ko nag-stagnate din yung skills ko eh. But there should be a point when even though a good artist, or a good, let's just say artist para hindi na tayo masyadong ma so that we don't get lost for words anymore. Let's say artist. So if you're an artist, there would be a time, you will always need to be a student of the game. Okay, so that's a requirement. Actually, in any work naman, in any line of work. So you'll need to, even in podcasting, musician, you will need to be, kahit sa business, parang lagi kang open for new things kasi the world changes at a rapid pace. Okay? So you need to adapt constantly. So in effect, you are always a student. But you should also recognize the you could, even though you will forever be a student, kailangan you should be able to give yourself credit na you can already teach. You can already contribute to the development of the craft, that you have progressed. May mga pwede ka nang iambag na sarili mo doon sa kultura. That's one. uh, sa craft itself, maybe meron kang na-contribute na bagong techniques, di ba? And may na-discover ka, meron kang na-invento. And also to teach. You can always teach other people, other students, the younger generation. Because one thing na I believe in, that's connected here in becoming an expert, is the cycle of the cycle of the natural cycle of any form of art is that you become a student, or you gain interest, and then you become a student, and then you work hard work, and then you master, and then once you master, you teach. Okay, so until you teach, parang hindi magiging complete yung ano mo yung cycle. Even though sometimes teaching is kumbaga parang indirect na just by watching you draw or studying your drawings, you inspire people kasi pwede mong pag-aralan yung mga drawing 'di ba? Once it's there, madali nang pag-aralan 'yan. But alam mo 'yun, maybe we can consider that as na parang makomplete na rin, nako-complete niya na rin yung cycle when people look at your work to study. Maybe that's I'm thinking of that. Ngayon ko lang siya naisip actually. But if you can actively teach and inspire, or creating work that is deliberately designed to inspire other people, then you are the passing on the your passion, your knowledge, and you're gonna inspire the next generations to create the same artworks that you do. Whether you are a plumber, diba? Gardener, engineer, construction worker, kahit janitor ka diba? Kasi in the case of janitors, it's not just it's not just your ability to, let's say, mop and clean and wipe dust. It's not that. What comes along with that is a standard of cleanliness, a standard of organization, a standard of workflow, 'di ba? Hindi lang 'yun yung kung kumbaga standard ng efficiency, magkakasama yan. So, those are qualities that you can use to advance yourself and become more kumbaga makagraduate ka na from being a janitor. Those are skills. Those are the actual skills that you can develop in doing laborious jobs like that. 'Di ba? So, if you are an artist na nagkataon janitor ka ngayon, the same kind of standards na ginawa mo na inilatag mo for your work as a cleaner, then you can also apply that. That is why tingin ko yung, which actually it is really the case, na parang everything that you can in any line of work, there's only one formula, 'di ba, for success. For me, that is keep learning, and do not stop. Even if you're failing, if you love what you're doing, then if you want to succeed, yun yung mas qualifier eh. Then you should not stop until you do. Kasi once you stop, then it's game over, 'di ba? Yun na yun. If you don't stop and you still keep learning, you still keep acquiring knowledge and new skills to improve, then there's only one place, there's only one direction for your career. Okay, it's inevitable to be successful. And also now, if you're gonna say parang wow, 'di ba? I mentioned kanina 7 years before ka maging expert, 'di ba? Well, siguro first year matututo ka na noon, 'di ba? Matututo ka noon, hindi ka pa nga lang expert. Siguro by second, third year, medyo gamay mo na 'yan. Medyo proficient ka na. You can probably already work as a professional, 'di ba? Pwede ka nang maging intern, pwede ka nang maging apprentice, 'di ba? Pwede ka nang maging hindi ka pa lead, pero pwede kang maging one of the guys that's dependable. Kasi that will also apply in your work ethics. And also, what are you gonna do if you're gonna start now? Then alam mo yun, if you're not, whether you start right now or not, the time will pass by anyway. 'Di ba? Kumbaga, tatakbo yung 7 years na yun. Whether may ginawa ka or not. Whether nag-business ka or not. Whether you studied painting or not. Whether you took a course sa school, nag-MA ka or not. Aandar din ng oras eh. So, what would you rather do? Diba? So, it could be hard and long, but unless you have better things to do, then I suggest you better get into it. Especially if you can. Diba? Kasi not everyone is unfortunate as those who can make things happen. Okay. A lot of people hindi makapag-aral dahil walang pera. Isa na ako doon dati, 'di ba? May mga tao na either may kapansanan or for whatever reason hindi nila magawa or stuck sa pamilya, alam mo yun, maagang nagkaanak nang wala sa plano. But if you have the luxury na pwede mong gawin yun, I suggest you do, so that Yun, become an expert in something. Kahit a few other things, pero kasi this will also build your confidence. If you become an expert at least in one thing, parang okay, meron kang pangsagot. Okay, maybe you're better at this, but I have this one, 'di ba? I have my artwork, 'di ba? Meron kang pwedeng ipagyabang. You have a fallback and you will have a sense of achievement. Kasi you can't be an expert without results. Okay? So walang painter na naging expert na walang painting, 'di ba? So you will have something to show. At least for that, at least for your confidence and siguro ang mas ano diyan, mas larger goal is to yun nga pass the expertise to the next generation, but give your life more meaning by by uh, by pursuing a passion. Yun na lang siguro. That's it. That is my third entry in my 40 life wisdoms at 40. Watch out for the next 37 more. And we're gonna finish this episode right now. Powerful Comicsman Podcast. Paalam.